All right, we're at you today with always Auburn. We're gonna talk a little pregame going into the Ball State game. It's the home opener at Jordan-Hare Stadium this year. First game of the season at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Night game. They're gonna have a big light show, and it's a lot of excitement funneling around Auburn right now. So let's get it going. What to expect? I'm gonna give you some predictions. We're gonna kind of look and see what we hope to come out of the game. We're also going to talk about Coach Freeze and his interview, his short interview that he did yesterday, kind of talking about practice and how it went this week and what he expects going into the game. So yeah, let's get it started. Let's get it started with our opponent for the week. So Ball State, the Ball State Cardinals. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think this is probably going to be the worst team that we face this year. Next week we have another, what they call a cupcake in South Alabama, but at the same time, I don't think South Alabama is necessarily a cupcake. Now, do I think that we're going to win handily against South Alabama? Yes. Do I think they're going to show us a lot of problems? No. But at the same time, do I think that they're a better program and have more upside than Ball State? Absolutely. So, Ball State is 0-1 coming into this game. They played Purdue last week, the Boilermakers, and lost 31 to nothing. They have a quarterback. His last name's Kelly. And Kelly is, from what I'm getting, is kind of a wide receiver converted quarterback. So what that looks like is probably a lot of RPO. He's probably an athlete. I haven't watched any film on him, so I haven't sat tomorrow Saturday in Jordan-Hare Stadium would be the first time I get to see Kelly live. But what I'm expecting, wide receiver converted quarterback is probably got some speed on him. Probably good with the ball in his hand. Probably sees the field well, and I think he probably is maybe their best athlete on the team. And the only way they have hope to even compete in games, is by having the ball in his hand. It's almost like, in high school, you kind of just give the ball to your best player and let him kind of backyard football it and hope it turns out well. I think that's a lot on a more structured scale. They're not running in Jordan-Hare Stadium, playing backyard football at Ball State, which is a university. So on a more structured scale, I think it's a lot like, okay, he's our best player. He needs the ball in his hands for us to even have a shot at, looking decent, and especially against big-time, powerful opponents like who Ball State's going to face tomorrow in Auburn. So I'm looking for a lot of plays that, kind of simulate him, being the main aspect of the play. A lot of RPOs, some quarterback sweeps, some quarterback powers. Haven't heard if he really can throw the ball. Now I have heard that they have some decent wide receivers. Weatherly was one of their names, and but who really knows? People tend to talk more of people up from interviews and stuff, and so who really knows if these guys are really any good? I'm not so sure. All I know is that Purdue beat them 31 to nothing last week. That their defense apparently is not very good. Purdue's wide receiver Armand Branch apparently had 100 yards in the first quarter. So Not sure what that looked like, if it was just a big, long, 60-yard touchdown bomb, and then he came back and, 10 yards here, 15 yards here. Not so sure. But 100 yards in the first quarter for a wide receiver, that speaks volumes about Ball State's defense, specifically their secondary and their linebackers and their ability to play in space. So moving into their defense, and kind of relating that towards what we're going to do on the offensive side of the ball. Here's your chance, Coach Freeze. I know you just have been itching to do it. I mean, you probably won't sleep tonight. You're thinking of every deep ball, deep post, deep corner, combination routes with Perry and Malcolm and Cam Coleman running the go on the other side of the field, and Eric Singleton running flat routes. I know you just can't wait to show off your pass proficient, high air raid offense. I know you can't wait. So you're going to get that chance tomorrow, Coach Freeze. I hope that Coach Freeze remembers that this is just Ball State. There's no need to show the world every pass combination and every player combo, specifically wide receiver combinations and high-low routes and just everything that comes into the strategic side of offensive play calling. I hope you don't take this and think that you have to show everybody, what we can do as far as that part of the offense. Coach Freeze, we have some big games coming up, and it'd be nice if some of these, combo routes and things that you can do to get the defensive backs' eyes moving and whatnot. It'd be nice if you didn't put that on film for the Georgias and the Oklahomas and the A&Ms, to watch and study and get tips on. Okay, they ran this. This is what this looks like. Hopefully we have some things in the chamber when we play those teams that aren't on film that can surprise some defensive coordinators and these experienced players that some of these schools have in their back end haven't seen Auburn do on film. Which I don't expect Coach Freeze to do that. Not saying that at all. I think he realizes that Coach Freeze gets paid a lot of money for some good reasons, and he's no fool. I don't feel like so. I don't think he's just going to throw the playbook at Ball State. So, kind of what I expect. I expect the first half. Jackson Arnold. We get to see your arm on some not so very good, high school type defensive backs. I think we're gonna see Arnold air it out quite a bit, and there's gonna be plays that are meant for Eric Singleton to get in space and show off some of that speed, and I know these guys are itching to touch the end zone. Cam and Perry and Eric Singleton and Malcolm. I know they're ready to get in that end zone. They're ready to dance and all that good stuff that these boys do nowadays when they score touchdowns. So which I have no problem with that. Reward them for the hard work that they've put in, all summer and early fall camp. Reward them. They deserve it. Not that they don't. It's just, we got to always keep in perspective what the ultimate goal is, what the big goal is out of the season, and going 1-0 this weekend is a goal. Yeah, of course. We'd hate to go lay an egg against Ball State and come out of that game 1-1. Even though we're not expecting that to happen, and I don't think anybody probably in the world of sports is expecting that to happen. But we gotta keep that in perspective that it's about winning tomorrow. It's about getting a lot of players, a lot of experience on the field. Coach Freeze, these are great games and great opportunities to develop youth. Coach Freeze talked about in his press conference, or not in his press conference, in his interview yesterday after practice, kind of going over, how the week went. He talked about the two running backs, Darrell Robinson and Omar Mapson, who didn't get in much against Baylor, and he said that it, it doesn't have anything to do with putting the football in their hands. He said they can run with the football in their hands. There's no issues around that, and that's what you do with the tailback the majority of the times. He says the issues are that they hadn't been on the field, that he's not comfortable with them completely, fully understanding, protection packages, pass blocking, offensive line, assignments, and understanding where you have to feel, in pass protection and things along those lines, which does make sense. So tomorrow, games like this, your Ball States, your South Alabamas, your Mercers later on in the season, that's when you build that experience, Coach Freeze. So come November in the Iron Bowl, or if we're so fortunate to wind up in some post game action this year, these guys, when your players are banged up, not saying that that's going to happen, not wanting that to happen, but running back is a tough position, and players get hurt, and it's a very physical and violent game, and injuries do occur. I mean, we're seeing it this week. Damari Alston's not going to play, but you want these guys to have that experience so they can gain that confidence and that pass protection, because who's to say that Jeremiah Cobb and Damari Alston aren't a little banged up, come Iron Bowl time, or come, if it happens to be SEC championship time or playoff game time, who's to say? It's a long season, a long, grueling season, and it's a physical game. So it's a great opportunity when you play the Ball States and the South Alabamas and the Mercers, so that you can say, okay, I am confident in Omar Mapson's ability to understand pass protection schemes. And when offensive linemen make checks at the line and change up assignments, that the running backs understand where they need to feel, or where the open gap's going to be, or can recognize which linebacker's coming, So, yeah, this is a great opportunity to get Darrell Robinson and Omar Mapson that experience, so you can be confident in all phases of their game, not just running the football. And it might give us a little more insight of what maybe they need to work a little more on. We get to see them in game speed action. It's always different in the game than it is in practice. I think we can all agree on that. So I'm excited to see the running back stable a little bit. Heck, maybe Alvin Henderson gets a little blow. Hadn't heard too much about him in fall camp. I'm not sure if he just, he just hasn't developed like we hoped he would, and that happens. For some guys it takes longer than other guys. It seems like Omar Mapson's ahead of schedule. Whereas Alvin Henderson, might be behind schedule a little bit, but football's a funny game, and there's always that chance that your number is going to get called, and when it's called, it really doesn't. It's either step up to the plate, do or die type stuff. You go big or go home, and some guys need that spotlight. Some guys, practice doesn't do it for them. Not to say that's a good thing. I'm not not saying that whatsoever, but I mean, we might see if Alvin Henderson gets on the field Saturday, Coach Freeze and everybody else who's been involved in his development might see a different side of him, when he's under that lights and under those lights and in front of the fans and he's lining up with somebody with a different colored jersey than what he's used to, than what he sees at practice every day. So you never know. You never know. Maybe Alvin will get a little blow Saturday, and yeah, excited to see things like that coming out Saturday, and getting a lot of these young guys a lot of reps, and that's what I'm looking forward to. So I don't expect Ball State. I don't expect Ball State to score, to be quite honest with you. I think that, and I hope that the defense takes it somewhat personal. What happened to them last Friday against Baylor. I think the defense is full of pride. I think they believe in one another. I think they believe they are a great unit, not just a good unit. I think the defensive players on Auburn football team, Keldrick Fogg, Malik Blockton, Caleb Harris, Sylvester Smith, Jay Crawford, DeMarcus Riddick, just to name a few, some of those experienced guys, guys with some leadership back there. I think they believe they are a great unit with very, very young, talented players up under them and around them. And I think they're going to take it personally, the way they performed against Baylor and how Michael Trigg caught the ball all over the field and they missed tackles left and right. And the offense kind of had to be the power point of Friday's matchup that kind of got them over the hump. I think these guys are real. I think they hurt enough probably this week, and it doesn't matter who it is, Ball State, Auburn High School. It doesn't matter who it was is going to be this week. I think they took that personal, and I think they have a goal, and I think they're going to go in there and they're going to shut Ball State out. My final score, and just a little rehash, I was close last week. I predicted the score to be 38-16, and the final was 38-24. So Auburn, and I was close. So it might sound crazy. I'm gonna give you a big number on the Auburn side and give you nothing on the Ball State side, but I believe the final score is going to be 63-0. I believe Auburn is going to score 9 touchdowns. Now, do I think they're all going to come on offense? No. I think the defense gets a hand in it. I wouldn't be so shocked to see another special teams touchdown. Maybe not on kickoff return, because I don't think Ball State is going to be kicking it off much, I think Ball State will kick the ball off one time, and it'll either be at the beginning of the game or at the beginning of the third quarter. But I do think they'll be punting the ball a lot, and it may come in a block punt. It may come with something crazy that happens on special teams. It may come from a punt return being returned for a touchdown. I think that's going to be a competitive part of Auburn's just all-around team, this year, is that they can actually score on special teams, whether that's returning kicks or blocking punts or field goals, whatever it may be. I think Rayshawn Pleasant's big return Friday just kind of exemplifies that and puts an explanation point on that. Hey, we can score on special teams. We don't have to score on offense, only offense. And I think the defense believes that too, and that's why I think you see a touchdown on their side of the ball too. Maybe 2, to tell you the truth. It's going to get wicked, just to be real. And even when Auburn takes their starters out, and starts putting in these young freshmen, especially on defense. Ooh, I look for Melendez and Diaz to get a lot of playing time tomorrow. I look for them to grow up a little bit. Not saying they really need to, because everything I hear about them two, they're ready to play now. Especially Melendez, number 9. But I think those two get a lot of reps tomorrow on the defensive side of the ball, playing linebacker, and there's something about what I hear about them two in fall camp, the way they get after the football. They're going to create turnovers. They're going to hit hard. I see Anquan Fagans on the field playing safety tomorrow, early, maybe second drive. Look for 21, Anquan Fagans. Look for him. I think he's ready. You can't keep him off the field. And eventually it's going to get to that point. I talked about Kayan Lee, maybe somebody trying to take his spot. One of these, Rashawn Pleasant was my example of that. But Kayan Lee kind of answered the bell a little bit. So I was happy to see it. Pleased to see that, because I do like Kayan Lee. I think he's a great player. I just want to see that effort out of him. And I think and that leadership that I know he's got within him. And I think I saw that last Friday. So, but hey, Caleb Harris, you did not have a good game. Caleb Harris did not have a good game Friday night against Baylor. He missed tackles. He was out of position. He got beat. And, I think Anquan Fagans wants to play. I mean, he didn't come to Auburn as a 5-star. I don't know the exact number, but he was definitely in the top 5 number of overall recruits, and he wants to play football. So he's nipping at Caleb Harris's heels. Another bad performance by Harris and new boy Anquan Fagans. Hey, he's ready for that action. So yeah, look for 21 a lot. If the ball gets up and comes his way, I feel like he's going after it, and I want to see what because I feel like I want to see that if the only thing that concerns me about the scoring on defense is I'm not sure how much Ball State is really going to throw the football with this wide receiver converted quarterback guy, Kelly. Now I do think they'll try a little bit, because they're going to end up in 3rd and 12s and 14, especially when we have, early in the game, when we have our starting rotation guys in the game, and I just don't see them being able to run the ball. We're going to stuff that middle, and they're going to end up in those long yardage 3rd down. So they're really going to have no choice but to try to throw the ball, and that might be where you see the interceptions come. But I do think we're going to score twice on defense, to tell you the truth. Probably once in the first half and once in the second half, and a lot and Freeze. I mean, even if we don't score on defense, I'm still sticking to that 63. I still think we're gonna score 9 touchdowns. I don't see us not capitalizing on any drives to kick field goals. The only way that we don't score touchdowns is if something happens and it's a bad snap, some self-imposed mistake on the offensive side of the ball. That's the only way I don't see us capitalizing on drives throughout the game, because I don't think it's going to fall off when Jackson Arnold comes out, early in the 3rd quarter. And Coach Freeze already talked about that. He's kind of got a plan. And from what he said, now, you do whatever you want. But from what Coach Freeze said, granted that we're in a position to do it, look for Deuce. Look for Deuce. He'll be the next one up. So look for Deuce. And I really don't think that that he's only gonna put Deuce in to hand the ball off. think he's going to let Deuce throw the ball, which that's fine. That's what Coach Freeze likes to do, throw the football. And so if Deuce is going to be a quarterback, starting quarterback at Auburn in the years to come, might as well get him used to throwing it around because that's what Coach Freeze wants to do. Even though I do think Deuce can probably run the ball a little bit, just like Jackson can. But hey, we don't want to risk getting him injured or anything like that. That is probably the biggest goal coming out of this Ball State game. Get a lot of players playing time and stay healthy. Stay healthy. The players that aren't healthy, they don't need to play, which I'm pleased to hear that Damari Alston's not playing because he's battling a little shoulder injury. He doesn't need to play. Champ, he's got that thumb. I'm sure we could wrap the thumb up. I mean, I played football. A hand, anything on that hand, hey, you know what I'm saying? There's a difference between being injured and being hurt. And that hand, it really don't get injured. It just gets hurt, to tell you the truth, and we could wrap that hand up, but there's no need to. We're playing Ball State, get it together, really not a need next week, try to get it together. We might need you in Norman, Champ, and Damari, he's in the same boat. So, I think Amaris, he hobbled off the field at the end of the game Friday, but I think that was just a little cramp. I think he was just cramping up, and which that's going to happen in the heat, and especially towards the end of games, and not too concerned about that. And yeah, so look for that. Look for the player. Look for a lot of players playing. Look for a big score. Like I said, 63-0, and yeah. Last thing he did. So we might be wondering, is what's up with Ashton Daniels? Freeze did kind of address that a little bit in his interview. He talked about it being a juggling act between Deuce and Ashton and how they're gonna, make that work. I think we all kind of agree that the starting quarterback position is really not in question. Now, can that change? Absolutely. Absolutely. We got a tough one in a couple of weeks against Oklahoma. We'll really see what they got come tomorrow when they play Michigan. We'll really see what Oklahoma's got. But yeah, I mean, Jackson Arnold will be expected to go out and perform, at a high standard against Oklahoma. If to keep from questions arising about, should one of these other guys, get a shot, Deuce or Ashton. So what Freeze said about Ashton was he can apparently have another year eligibility. He can be redshirted this year, which, I don't really know all the rules about redshirt. They change rules every year with the NCAA and eligibility and all that good stuff. Like I said, I can't believe Carson Beck's still playing football. It seems like he's been in college football for 10 years, along with Stetson Bennett. I mean, like back when he played for Georgia. I feel like Kirby's making the eligibility rules or something. Who knows? Maybe that's why they've turned out to be so good for the past, whatever years, So, but anyway, Ashton, if he doesn't play if he doesn't get on the field for 4 games or less, then he can come back next year. And Freeze speaks very highly of Ashton Daniels, and I think we all assume that Deuce Knight will step into the starting quarterback role next year. Not saying he won't, but when you look at it at a head coaching standpoint, wouldn't it be great? And I agree with Freeze on this completely. Wouldn't it be great to have 2 quarterbacks, Ashton Daniels and Deuce Knight, coming into next season with experience, being in the system, being at Auburn, and then you pick up another one either in the portal or through recruiting. Maybe we get another highly rated quarterback coming out of high school, and that's how you start to develop a system, and start really building, in a sense of talent, quarterbacks, and establishing a championship program, which is what Auburn needs to be restored to, which I think we are on that way. And so I so I think that's a great strategy, Freeze has in the quarterback room. Most important position on the field. You got to have a good quarterback in this day and age in football to compete. And so I like that strategy, and I hope it comes into fruition for them. So that's what I got for you guys, man. Heard it here first at Always Auburn, 63-0. Final score: Auburn Tigers. Couple scores on defense, maybe one on special teams. Big day out of Jackson Arnold. Big day out of Cam Coleman. Hey, those guys will be on the sideline after halftime with their shoulder pads off, and we're gonna get to see a lot of this young talent that Coach Freeze has brought in, and let them get on the field and have some excitement. So everybody enjoy the game, and don't forget, war down, Meagle in this bitch.